Hello and welcome. Legends whisper of a world that exists in perpetual night, where stone cathedrals stretch for miles and rivers flow upward, where cities gleam with fairy fire, and empires older than the gods themselves still scheme in the darkness. The surface dwellers of Faerûn go about their lives, walking roads and tending farms, never truly comprehending that beneath every footstep lies an entire realm of wonder and terror. Merchants haggle in Waterdeep's markets, while drow priestesses sacrifice in Lolt's name mere miles below their feet. Farmers plow fields in the Dalelands, unaware that mind flayer colonies pulse with psychic energy in caverns deep beneath their crops. Tonight, you will descend with me into these forgotten depths, and you will learn the secrets that the stone has kept for millennia. The Underdark is not simply a collection of caves or a network of tunnels carved by underground streams. What spreads beneath the surface world represents an entire parallel civilization, a realm so vast and complex that scholars have spent lifetimes attempting to map even small portions of it. When the first surface explorers descended into the darkness, they believed they would find nothing more than beasts and primitive creatures. What they discovered instead shattered their understanding of the world. Cities that rivaled anything on the surface, civilizations with histories stretching back tens of thousands of years, and magic so ancient and powerful that it predated the current gods themselves. The sheer geographical scope of the Underdark defies easy comprehension. The caverns and passages extend beneath virtually every nation and wilderness on the surface of Faerûn. From the Sword Coast in the west, where passages beneath Waterdeep connect to the greater Underdark through the subterranean port of Skullport, all the way to the eastern reaches beneath Thay, the darkness spreads like a vast web. From the frozen wastes of Icewind Dale, where Menzoberranzan lies hidden beneath the ice, to the southern jungles of Chult, the Underdark tunnels through the planetary crust like the burrows of some impossibly vast creature. Scholars and explorers who have survived extensive journeys through the Underdark divide it into three distinct layers, each deeper and more alien than the last. Understanding these layers is crucial to understanding the nature of the realm itself, for each level possesses its own characteristics, its own dangers, and its own civilizations. The Upper Dark, the first layer you would encounter when descending from the surface, extends from just below the surface world down to a depth of approximately 3 miles. This region still maintains some tenuous connection to the world above. Underground rivers that eventually flow to the surface carry with them traces of the sun-touched world. Massive sinkholes occasionally allow dim light to penetrate during the day, creating twilight zones where surface plants struggle to survive alongside their fungal cousins. The air here, while often stale and thick, remains breathable without the need for magic or specialized equipment. The creatures that inhabit the Upper Dark are often those that surface dwellers might occasionally encounter during their own delving expeditions. Giant spiders spin webs across passages, waiting for prey to stumble into their traps. Carrion crawlers slither through the darkness, their paralytic tentacles questing for food. Goblin tribes establish warrens in the Underdark, using it as a staging ground for raids on the surface world. Orc clans sometimes retreat to these upper levels when driven from their surface strongholds. The passages here can be relatively navigable, at least compared to the labyrinthine depths below, though that word should always be taken with extreme caution when discussing anything in the Underdark. Below the Underdark lies the Middledark, extending from roughly 3 miles below the surface down to depths of 10 miles or more. This is where the Underdark truly begins to reveal its alien and magnificent nature. The connection to the surface world becomes tenuous at best, little more than a distant memory carried on stale air currents. The atmosphere grows thick and strange, heated by geothermal vents and volcanic activity that turn some chambers into saunas and others into furnaces. Vast caverns open up in the stone, some large enough to hold entire cities within their walls, their ceilings lost in darkness, so far above that even dark vision cannot penetrate to their heights. And indeed, this is where you will find the great civilizations of the Underdark, the powers that shape the political landscape of the depths. The Drow have built their magnificent and terrible cities in these depths, spider-haunted metropolises where intrigue and assassination are tools of daily politics. Menzoberranzan, the city of spiders, clings to the walls of an immense cavern, its structures glowing with permanent fairy fire that illuminates the homes of 20,000 drow and hundreds of thousands of slaves. The Illithids maintain their colonies here, their elder brains floating in brine pools while telepathically commanding their thralls. The Duergar forge their weapons and armor in halls carved from solid stone, the ring of hammers on anvils echoing through passages that have known the tread of gray dwarf feet for thousands of years. The Middledark is where politics, religion, and warfare play out on scales that rival anything on the surface, though the players and their methods would seem utterly alien to surface dwellers. Then there is the Lower Dark, the deepest and least explored region of this subterranean realm. Beginning at depths of 10 miles or more and extending downward for distances unknown, the Lower Dark represents the final frontier of Underdark exploration. Few surface dwellers have ever ventured this deep and returned to tell the tale. Even the civilizations of the Middledark rarely send expeditions into these depths, for what dwells below terrifies even those who call the darkness home. The creatures that inhabit the Lower Dark are ancient beyond reckoning, powerful beyond measure, and utterly alien in their thoughts and motivations. Aboleths swim in underground seas that have never seen sunlight, their perfect memories containing knowledge from before the rise of the current gods. These fish-like aberrations built vast civilizations in the primordial oceans of the young world. And when those oceans receded or were destroyed, they retreated to the deepest waters of the Underdark, where they have dwelt ever since, nursing their hatred and plotting their return. Purple worms of truly colossal size burrow through solid rock at these depths, creating new passages and destroying old ones. Their movements sometimes causing earthquakes that can be felt on the surface miles above and in the very deepest reaches, where the stone itself grows hot from the pressure and proximity to the planet's molten core. Things exist that have no names in any surface tongue, entities that predate even the aboleths and remember when the world was young and formless. The environment of the Underdark presents challenges that surface dwellers can scarcely imagine. Darkness is the most obvious obstacle, but it is far from the only one. In many areas, the air itself becomes a hazard. Pockets of poisonous gas accumulate in low-lying chambers, invisible and odorless, until you have already breathed them in. Carbon dioxide pools in depressions in the floor, and any flame you carry will gutter and die as you approach, giving you only moments of warning before you suffocate. Volcanic vents release clouds of sulfurous gas that can burn your lungs with a single breath. And in some chambers, the air is so thin that even if you avoid the toxic gases, you will find yourself gasping for breath after the slightest exertion. Water behaves differently in the depths as well. Underground rivers carve through the stone, but they rarely flow in predictable directions. They may plunge over waterfalls that drop thousands of feet into unknown depths, or they may suddenly disappear into cracks in the floor, only to emerge elsewhere, miles away. These rivers are often the lifeblood of Underdark communities, providing fresh water and serving as transportation routes for those brave or foolish enough to navigate them. The Dark Lake, a vast interconnected system of underground seas, lakes, rivers, and flooded passages, spreads across multiple levels of the Underdark, serving as a highway for trade and warfare between the various civilizations. But these waterways can also be deadly. Flash floods can surge through tunnels with no warning, triggered by events miles away, or even on the surface world. The roar of approaching water echoing through stone passages gives you only seconds to find higher ground or be swept away to your doom. Temperature varies wildly throughout the Underdark, often changing dramatically within the span of a few hundred feet. Some chambers are freezing cold, cooled by underground streams fed by glacial melt from mountains far above. Others are swelteringly hot, heated by proximity to magma flows or volcanic vents that turn the air into a shimmering haze. You might travel from a chamber where your breath fogs in the air to one where sweat pours from your body in a matter of minutes. This variation creates strange ecosystems where creatures adapted to extreme cold live mere hundreds of feet from those that thrive in heat that would kill most surface life. The stone itself tells stories if you know how to read them. You can see the marks of ancient water flows in the smooth, curved surfaces of some passages, evidence of rivers that flowed here millions of years ago. Other tunnels bear the scars of excavation, whether by natural creatures like purple worms or by the organized efforts of civilizations long fallen to dust. Crystalline formations hang from ceilings or jut from walls, some mundane calcite and others glowing with their own internal light. These luminescent crystals are among the few sources of natural illumination in the Underdark, and settlements often spring up near large deposits of them. The light they provide is dim and often tinted with strange colors, but it is enough to see by, and that makes it precious beyond measure. The ecology of the Underdark functions on principles that seem to defy logic. Without sunlight, plants cannot grow through photosynthesis, and yet vegetation does exist in the depths. The answer lies in a phenomenon that the Drow call Faerûn, a magical radiation that suffuses many parts of the Underdark. Based on what we know from ancient ruins and magical studies, this could imply that Faerûn is a remnant of the mighty forces that originally shaped the terrain of the Underdark. This radiation acts as a substitute for sunlight, providing energy that fungi and other organisms can feed upon. This radiation also has other properties that make it valuable to the civilizations of the depths, distorting divination magic and interfering with teleportation spells, providing a measure of protection against scrying and surprise attacks. Vast forests of fungi spread across cavern floors in areas rich with Faerûn, some with caps large enough to serve as shelter for entire families. These fungi come in countless varieties, from the edible zirkwood that the Drow cultivate for both food and building material, to deadly varieties whose spores can kill with a single breath. The zirkwood mushrooms, despite being fungi, grow to heights of 30 or 40 feet, their stalks as hard as wood, and their caps spreading wide to collect the moisture that drips from cavern ceilings. The Drow harvest these giant mushrooms, using the stalks as timber for construction and the spores as a grain-like food source. Fire lichen grows in warmer regions, its pale orange-white color marking areas of geothermal heat, and the duergar ferment it into a fiercely hot liquor that can strip the lining from an unprepared throat. The fungi form the base of the food chain in many Underdark regions, feeding everything from tiny insects to massive beasts. Rithei, domesticated herd animals similar to cattle, graze on cave moss and other fungal growth, providing meat and milk for the civilizations that keep them. In the wild, countless species of herbivorous creatures feed on the fungal forests, and they in turn become prey for larger predators. Myconids, sentient fungus creatures, form peaceful communities in the deepest fungal forests. These gentle beings communicate through spores, creating rapport connections that allow them to share thoughts and emotions. led by a sovereign who determines the temperament of their circle. Myconids sustain themselves by drinking in the energy of the Faerûn that permeates their territory. They cannot leave the Underdark, for without the Faerûn to feed upon, they would slowly starve. The Myconids typically avoid conflict, preferring to tend their fungal gardens and commune with one another through their spore connections. But when threatened, they can release deadly spores that pacify or even kill those who would harm them. Creatures that feed on the fungi are themselves prey for larger predators, creating a food chain that stretches up to apex predators that would be nightmares to any surface dweller. Hook horrors stalk through caverns on their insectoid legs, their namesake hooks clicking against stone as they hunt, the sound echoing through passages and striking fear into anything that hears their approach. Umber hulks burrow through solid rock with their powerful mandibles, emerging without warning to attack anything they encounter. Their confusing gaze leaving victims stunned and helpless. These massive creatures, with chitin harder than plate armor and claws that can rip through stone as if it were parchment, make the very ground shake when they approach. Ropers disguise themselves as stalactites, waiting with infinite patience for prey to pass beneath them before striking with their strangling tendrils. And prowling through it all are the truly intelligent predators, the civilized races who hunt not just for food, but for slaves, treasure, and power. The discovery of the Underdark by surface civilizations happened gradually over thousands of years, and the knowledge that was gained often came at terrible cost. Ancient human kingdoms encountered passages leading down into the earth and sent explorers to investigate. Most never returned. Those who did brought back tales that were dismissed as fever dreams or madness. It was not until various civilizations began to seriously explore the depths that surface dwellers truly understood what lay below. The elves discovered the drow, their dark cousins, and the revelation shook elvish society to its core. Here were elves who had been banished into the depths millennia ago after a great war, who had not only survived, but thrived, building cities and civilizations that rivaled anything on the surface. The drow had adapted to their new home, their skin darkening to jet black, their hair turning white as snow, and their culture becoming a twisted reflection of the surface elven societies that had exiled them. Most horrifying of all, they had turned to the worship of Lolt, the Spider Queen, a demon goddess of chaos and cruelty, who demanded constant sacrifice and eternal warfare against the surface elves. The dwarves, of course, had always known about the Underdark, though they called it by different names. Their minds and delving brought them into contact with its upper reaches regularly. They knew of the dangers that lurked below, and they built their defenses accordingly. The ancient dwarven kingdom of Deep Shanatter spread across vast regions of the Underdark in ages past. 8 sub-kingdoms united under dwarven rule. But even the mighty dwarves fell before the combined threats of the Underdark. The Duergar, gray-skinned dwarves who had been enslaved by Illithids for generations, emerged changed and bitter from their captivity. They conquered much of deep Shanetter, establishing their own grim empire in the ruins of their cousin's realm. Section 2. The Spider Queen's Domain. The Drow stand as perhaps the most feared and misunderstood civilization in all of the Underdark. When surface dwellers speak of the depths, it is often the dark elves they think of first, their reputation for cruelty and treachery having spread across Faerûn like a dark stain. But to truly understand the Drow, you must look beyond the surface tales of midnight raids and stolen children. You must descend into their cities, walk their web-draped streets, and witness firsthand the intricate dance of power, faith, and survival that defines every moment of their existence. The Drow are elves, though they would take great offense at being compared to their surface cousins. Their skin has adapted to the perpetual darkness of the Underdark, turning a deep obsidian black that seems to absorb light rather than reflect it. Their hair, in stark contrast, grows white as fresh snow, silver as moonlight, or occasionally pale gold, creating a striking appearance that both fascinates and terrifies those who behold them. Their eyes glow with an inner luminescence, red being the most common color, though purple, blue, and amber also appear among certain bloodlines. These eyes can see perfectly in absolute darkness, piercing the black depths of the Underdark as easily as a surface elf sees on a sunny day. But the physical differences between Drow and surface elves pale in comparison to the cultural chasm that separates them. The Drow were banished to the Underdark millennia ago, cast down by their surface cousins after a series of wars and betrayals that still echo through elven memory. In the darkness, they found Lolt, or perhaps she found them. The Spider Queen, the Demon Queen of Spiders, the Queen of the Demonweb Pits, she offered the exiled elves power in exchange for worship, survival in exchange for obedience, and dominance in exchange for eternal service. Drow society is a matriarchy of the most absolute kind, for Lolt grants her greatest blessings to females of the species. The priestesses of the Spider Queen wield both divine magic and political power, the two so intertwined as to be inseparable. Every Drow city is ruled by a council of matron mothers, the high priestesses who lead the noble houses. These matron mothers speak with the voice of Lolt herself, and to defy them is to defy the goddess. The noble houses form the backbone of Drow civilization, great family dynasties that compete viciously for position, power, and the favor of the Spider Queen. Each house is led by its matron mother, supported by her daughters who serve as priestesses, and defended by her sons who train as warriors and wizards. The hierarchy within a house is absolute and unforgiving. The matron mother rules supreme, her word literally law within her domain. Her eldest daughter typically serves as her heir and second in command, though ambitious younger daughters may challenge for this position through intrigue or assassination. Male drow occupy a distinctly inferior position in their society, valued primarily as warriors, wizards, and breeding stock. The most talented males may rise to positions of significant power as weapon masters, mages, or leaders of merchant expeditions. But they can never hold true political authority. No male may command a female of higher station, and the priestesses ensure this hierarchy is maintained through both divine magic and brutal enforcement. The city of Menzoberranzan stands as the most famous and feared of all drow settlements, the beating heart of dark elf civilization in the north. Located in a vast cavern complex beneath the frozen lands near Icewind Dale, Menzoberranzan is home to approximately 20,000 drow and hundreds of thousands of slaves. The city clings to the walls and ceiling of an enormous natural cavern, a vertical metropolis where up and down lose their meaning, and nobles literally look down upon the common drow below. The architecture of Menzoberranzan defies surface sensibilities. Structures grow from the cavern walls like calcified dreams, their smooth surfaces decorated with bas-reliefs of spiders and webs, permanent fairy fire cast by drow wizards, and maintained through ancient enchantments, illuminates the city in shifting hues of purple, blue, green, and red, creating a surreal landscape where shadows dance and colors shift with every step. Bridges of hardened spider silk, reinforced with magic and stronger than steel, connect the various levels and districts of the city, swaying gently in the artificial breezes created by ventilation spells. The city is divided into distinct regions, each serving specific functions in the complex machinery of drow society. The noble houses occupy the most prestigious locations, their compounds carved into the cavern walls, with entrances guarded by magical wards and elite warriors. House Beaner, the first house of Menzoberranzan, commands the most impressive position, its vast complex dominating an entire section of the cavern. The matron mother of House Beaner traditionally serves as the de facto ruler of the city, though her authority is constantly challenged by the matrons of the other great houses. At the time of recent events in the Underdark, the ruling houses dominated the political landscape of Menzoberranzan, though this number fluctuates as houses rise and fall. House Beaner held the first position, followed by House Barrison de Larmgo and others in a carefully maintained hierarchy. But this ranking is never stable, for the laws of Lolt encourage ambitious houses to overthrow those above them. The rules governing house warfare in Menzoberranzan are clear and absolute. A house may attack another house if it can do so without leaving evidence of its involvement. If the attack succeeds and the target house is destroyed or sufficiently weakened, the attacking house rises in status and the Spider Queen is pleased. But if the attack fails, if evidence of the assault is discovered, then Lolt herself may withdraw her favor from the offending house, leaving it vulnerable to destruction by its rivals. This system ensures constant intrigue, with every house simultaneously plotting against its rivals, while defending against plots targeting itself. The commoner districts of Menzoberranzan sprawl across the cavern floor and lower walls, home to the majority of the city's drow population. These commoners serve the noble houses as crafters, merchants, soldiers, and servants. While they possess far less power than the nobility, they are still drow, still superior to the slaves that perform the most menial labor. Many commoners dream of elevation to noble status, though such advancement typically only occurs through marriage into a house, or by performing some service so valuable that a matron mother grants nobility as a reward. The slave markets of Menzoberranzan are among the largest in the Underdark, filled with captured surface dwellers, subjugated Underdark races, and even drow who have fallen from grace. Humans, elves, dwarves, and countless other races toil in the drow city, working in the mushroom farms that feed the population, serving in the houses of the nobility, or laboring in the dangerous mining operations that extract ore and gems from the surrounding rock. The life of a slave in Menzoberranzan is brutal and short, though those who prove useful or entertaining might survive for years or even decades. The great temple of Lolt, known as Aractinolith, dominates the religious life of Menzoberranzan. This massive structure serves as both a place of worship and a training academy for priestesses. Young females of noble birth come to Aractinolith to learn the ways of the Spider Queen, to master divine magic, and to prove themselves worthy of Lolt's favor. The training is rigorous and deadly, for Lolt demands excellence from her servants. Female clerics spend 50 years in study under the mistresses of Aractinolith, learning the deeper codes, beliefs, and dogma of Lolt's faith. Those who fail their tests may find themselves sacrificed on the altar of their goddess, their deaths serving as lessons to those who remain. The worship of Lolt permeates every aspect of drow life in Menzoberranzan and most other drow cities. The Spider Queen is a demanding deity, requiring constant sacrifice, eternal warfare against surface elves and other enemies, and absolute devotion from her followers. In exchange, she grants tremendous power to her priestesses, divine magic that allows them to command spiders, weave webs of shadow, and strike down their enemies with the wrath of the goddess herself. Lolt teaches that chaos is the natural order of existence, that strength is the only virtue, and that betrayal is simply another tool to be wielded in the pursuit of power. These teachings shape drow society at every level. Trust is a weakness to be exploited. Alliances are temporary conveniences, and today's ally may be tomorrow's assassin. This creates a society in perpetual motion, where nothing is stable, and everyone must constantly scheme and plot simply to survive. Yet Lolt is not the only deity the drow worship, merely the most dominant. The Dark Seldarine, the Drow pantheon, includes other gods who serve the Spider Queen or operate in her shadow. Faerûn, the Masked Lord, attracts male drow who chafe under the matriarchy, though his worship is technically forbidden in most drow cities. His followers, composed primarily of male drow who resent their subordinate status in Loltite society, seek a better life than slavery under Lolt's matriarchy. Ilustri, the Dark Maiden, offers a path of redemption for drow who wish to escape their evil heritage. But her followers are considered traitors and hunted without mercy in cities like Menzoberranzan. Beyond Menzoberranzan, other drow cities dot the Underdark of Faerûn, each with its own character and customs. Ched Nasid, once the second greatest drow city in the north, was known as the City of Shimmering Webs. Built in an immense cavern crossed by a vast chasm, Ched Nasid stretched its structures across the gap on bridges of stone and calcified web. The city glowed with thousands of permanent light spells, creating an ever-shifting display that gave the city its name. But Ched Nasid fell during the War of the Spider Queen in 1372 Dale Reckoning. Duergar forces, using alchemical stonefare bombs, destroyed the calcified webbing that supported the city's structure. In a single night of fire and ruin, the noble houses fell, and the City of Shimmering Webs plunged into the chasm below. Arendlin, located beneath the high moor, exists as a curious anomaly among drow settlements. Unlike most drow cities where Lolt reigns supreme, Arendlin permits the open worship of multiple deities of the Dark Seldarine. This shared power structure creates different political dynamics than those found in Menzoberranzan, though the city remains riven by strife and is no less dangerous for its diversity. Ust-Natha, a drow city that serves as a center of commerce and intrigue, lies along several major Underdark trade routes. The city's position makes it wealthy and cosmopolitan by drow standards, with merchants from various races visiting under strict rules of conduct. But beneath the veneer of trade and diplomacy, Ust-Natha remains a drow city where assassination and intrigue are simply part of doing business. The drow possess martial and magical traditions that make them feared throughout the Underdark and the surface world. Their warriors train from childhood in the use of weapons that would seem exotic to surface dwellers. The longsword and hand crossbow combination, favored by many drow fighters, allows for both melee and ranged combat. The hand crossbow serves primarily as a poison delivery system rather than a killing weapon in its own right. The drow use various poisons on their crossbow bolts, including sleeping poison, paralytic toxins, and hallucinogenic compounds. Their natural agility makes them deadly opponents in the close confines of Underdark tunnels. Drow wizards master both arcane magic and the unique properties of the Underdark itself. They have learned to harness the power of Faerûn, using the magical radiation to enhance their spells. and create effects impossible on the surface. The floating earth phenomenon, where chunks of stone hang suspended in midair through interaction with Faerûn, is often exploited by drow architects and military engineers. The merchant culture of the drow is as cutthroat as their politics. Drow traders journey throughout the Underdark and occasionally to the surface, dealing in slaves, magical items, poison, and exotic goods from the depths. They are shrewd negotiators who view every transaction as a battle to be won. The trade outpost of Mantal Darith serves as neutral ground where drow, duergar, and Snurfneblin merchants can meet and conduct business without open warfare, though assassinations and theft remain common. Drow raids on the surface world serve multiple purposes beyond simple acquisition of slaves and treasure. These raids are religious ceremonies, offerings to Lult that demonstrate the Drow's dominance over the weak surface races. Successful raid leaders gain tremendous status in Drow society, while those who fail may find themselves demoted or worse. The surface elves remain the preferred targets, for the Spider Queen's hatred of her former children burns eternally. The Drow language, a melodic and complex tongue, serves as a common language throughout much of the Underdark. Many other races learn at least basic Drow speech to facilitate trade and diplomacy, though few non-Drow ever master the subtle inflections and tones that can change a word's meaning entirely. The Drow also maintain a sophisticated writing system, their texts covering everything from magical theory to poisoncraft to political philosophy. The future of Drow civilization remains as uncertain and chaotic as their goddess demands. The silence of Lult, which occurred in 1372 Dale Reckoning, represented one of the most devastating events in Drow history. The Spider Queen suddenly ceased all communication with her followers, withdrawing all divine magic from her priestesses. For a time, no priestess could cast healing spells. No matron mother could claim direct connection to the goddess, and the entire foundation of Drow theocracy cracked. This silence created an opening for the worship of Faerûn and other gods to expand dramatically. Though Lult eventually returned, transformed and more powerful than before, the events shook Drow society to its foundations. Houses that were strong have fallen, while others have risen to take their places. But through it all, the essential nature of Drow civilization endures, a culture built on treachery, ambition, and the worship of chaos itself. Section 3. The Empire of Mind. If the Drow represent ambition clothed in darkness, then the Illithids embody something far more alien and terrifying. The Mind Flayers, as they are more commonly known, stand as perhaps the most feared creatures in all the Underdark, not for their physical prowess, but for their ability to reach into your mind and turn your very thoughts against you. When you encounter a Drow, you face an enemy you can understand, one driven by ambition and religious fervor. When you face an Illithid, you confront something fundamentally inhuman. A being whose thoughts follow pathways so alien that even attempting to comprehend them risks madness. The physical form of a mind flayer inspires revulsion in most humanoid races. Their bodies stand roughly the height of a tall human, humanoid in basic structure, but twisted into something profoundly wrong. Their skin ranges from mauve to a pale, corpse-like white, with a texture described by those who have survived contact as slick and somehow wrong to the touch. But it is the head that truly marks them as aberrations, where a human face would be. An illithid sports a writhing mass of 4 tentacles surrounding a lamprey-like mouth. These tentacles are not mere appendages, but feeding organs, capable of latching onto a victim's skull and boring through bone to reach the delicious brain within. The mind flayer's most terrifying weapon, however, is not physical, but mental. Illithids are natural psionicists, wielding powers of the mind that allow them to dominate, control, and destroy the thoughts of other creatures. A mind flayer can reach into your consciousness and seize control of your body, turning you into a puppet that obeys its every command while you scream helplessly inside your own skull. It can shatter your mind with a blast of psychic energy, leaving you a drooling vegetable with no memory of who or what you were. And perhaps most horrifying of all, it can extract your thoughts and memories, reading your mind as easily as a scholar reads a book, learning your secrets, your fears, and your weaknesses. But individual mind flayers, dangerous as they are, represent only a fraction of the true threat posed by illithid civilization. The mind flayers do not exist as individuals in the way most humanoid races understand the concept. Each illithid is part of a greater whole, connected to its fellows through a psychic network that transcends normal communication. And at the center of this network, floating in a pool of brine in the heart of every illithid colony, is the elder brain. The elder brain represents the pinnacle of illithid evolution and the foundation of their entire society. When a mind flayer dies, its brain is ceremonially added to the elder brain. Its memories, knowledge, and consciousness absorbed into the Gestalt entity. Over centuries and millennia, the elder brain grows, accumulating the combined wisdom and experience of thousands of illithids. It becomes a repository of knowledge so vast that it borders on omniscience, at least within the scope of its colony's experience. The elder brain maintains constant telepathic contact with every mind flayer in its colony, providing guidance, sharing information, and enforcing obedience. The elder brain possesses a telepathic range of 2 to 5 miles, depending on its age and size, and can sense all sentient beings within that range, unless they are psionically shielded. No illithid can hide its thoughts from the elder brain when within range. No illithid can rebel against its commands. The relationship is not precisely slavery, for the mind flayers willingly submit to the elder brain, understanding that their individual consciousnesses will eventually join with it. But to an outsider, the sight of mind flayers moving in perfect coordination, responding to unspoken commands from their central intelligence, appears deeply unsettling. Illithid colonies spread throughout the Middle Dark and Lower Dark regions of the Underdark, each centered on its elder brain and supported by vast populations of thralls. The mind flayers are not numerous, their reproduction limited by the complex and disturbing process by which new illithids are created. An illithid begins life as a tadpole, swimming in the same brine pool that houses the elder brain. The eggs hatch after 1 month, and the tadpoles begin a 10-year process of growth, during which they are fed a diet of carefully prepared brain matter by the mind flayer colony. When a tadpole reaches maturity, it is implanted into the brain of a humanoid host through a process called seramorphosis. The tadpole is typically inserted through the victim's eye, ear, or nostril. It then burrows into the host's brain, consuming it while simultaneously transforming the host's body. Over the course of approximately 7 days, the humanoid ceases to exist, and a new mind flayer emerges, retaining some memories of its host, but possessing an entirely illithid consciousness. This horrifying reproduction method means that illithid colonies require a constant supply of humanoid victims. Most victims are not used for seramorphosis, but instead become thralls, their minds dominated and their bodies put to work in service of the colony. These thralls perform all the physical labor that mind flayers consider beneath them, farming the fungi that supplement the illithid diet, building and maintaining structures, and serving as soldiers in the colony's defense. The city of Orindal stands as one of the greatest illithid metropolises in all the Underdark, a monument to the mind flayers' power and their alien aesthetic. Located in the deepest regions of the Lower Dark, Orindal sprawls across multiple cavern systems, its structures grown from psychically shaped stone rather than built through conventional construction. The architecture defies humanoid sensibilities, with impossible angles and surfaces that seem to shift when viewed from different perspectives. Hidden spiral staircases wind down 150 feet to the main illithid city below, where most of the mind flayers live and work in ring caverns, ringed tunnels that circle the colony. Thousands of thralls toil in Orindal's depths, while hundreds of mind flayers conduct their inscrutable business, all overseen by an elder brain of truly ancient and terrible power. Orindal is known for its residents' insatiable thirst for knowledge, and the city is considered one of the earliest illithid settlements. But the illithids were not always confined to the Underdark, skulking in caverns and preying on whatever victims they could capture. The mind flayers once commanded a vast empire that stretched across multiple worlds and held billions of slaves in thrall. This could imply that at the height of their power, the illithids represented one of the greatest threats the multiverse had ever known. However, Some Illithid lore suggests they claim to come from a far future, a timeline where they conquered the entire multiverse and ruled over all other races as cattle, and that a catastrophe destroyed their empire and flung the survivors back through time to the present day. Whether this tale reflects an alternate timeline or represents Illithid delusion remains a subject of scholarly debate. The downfall of the Illithid Empire came not from external conquest, but from internal rebellion. Among their many slave races were the Gith, humanoids who had been captured and enslaved for countless generations. The Gith served as particularly valued slaves, for their natural psionic potential made them useful for tasks requiring mental discipline. But this same psionic power would prove to be the Illithid's undoing. A Gith slave named Gith rose up against the Mind Flayers, her rebellion spreading like wildfire through the slave populations. Led by Gith, the slaves rose up and slew their Illithid masters on every world, destroying the empire. The Gith fought with desperate fury, knowing that victory meant freedom, while defeat meant a return to slavery or death. The war raged across multiple planes of existence, with the Gith pursuing the fleeing Illithids through planar portals and into the depths of the Underdark. The key to victory was organization, and the fact that the Illithids refused to use material weapons. When the fighting finally ended, the Illithid Empire lay in ruins, its surviving colonies reduced to hiding in the deepest caverns of various worlds. But victory came at a terrible cost for the Gith. In the aftermath of the war, a schism erupted among them over what path their newly freed people should follow. Upon the blasted plains, the people had achieved victory over their Illithid masters and new freedom. Yet before the fires had died from the battlefield, Gith spoke of continuing the war. She advocated for eternal warfare, arguing that the Gith should conquer the multiverse and utterly exterminate the Illithids at all corners of existence, then bring war to other races they encountered. A powerful psionicist named Zerthaman rejected this path, calling instead for a life of peace and self-discipline, stating that knowing freedom was enough and that the people should learn to know themselves again and mend the damage dealt to them. On the blasted plains, Zerthaman told Gith there cannot be two skies. The disagreement escalated into civil war, and the Gith split into two distinct races. The Githyanki followed Gith's vision, establishing a civilization in the astral plane and dedicating themselves to conquest and warfare. The Githzerai embraced Zerthaman's teachings, retreating to the plane of limbo, where they built monasteries and focused on mental and martial discipline. To this day, the Githyanki and Githzerai hate each other nearly as much as they hate the Illithids. The Githyanki established a twisted empire of their own in the astral plane, led by their Lick Queen Valkeith. Vlaakith, the 157th, is the only Vlaakith to have become a Lick, and has been enthroned for the past 1,000 years. With the exception of warlocks and those with access to the plane shift spell, Githyanki on the astral plane depend on their queen's magic for mobility between planes. The Githyanki raid across the plains, taking slaves and treasure, striking terror into civilizations that thought themselves safe. They maintain outposts throughout the Underdark, hunting for mind flayers, and occasionally clashing with other civilizations that have the misfortune to cross their path. The Githzerai, by contrast, have built a society centered around monastic enclaves led by powerful monks and psionic masters known as Zerths. These enclaves are bastions of order within the chaotic realm of Limbo, maintained by the collective will and discipline of the Githzerai. Their society values asceticism, meditation, and the pursuit of mental and physical perfection. Zerthiman's teachings remain a major tenet for the Githzerai and give all Githzerai monasteries and settlements a common philosophical foundation. While Githzerai do not automatically join a monastery at birth, many seek out these institutions to prove themselves through quests or tasks. The mind flayers live in constant fear of the Githyanki, for the warriors of the astral plane have dedicated their entire civilization to hunting and destroying Illithids. When Githyanki raiders discover an Illithid colony, they attack with overwhelming force, showing no mercy and taking no prisoners. The elder brains themselves fear the Githyanki silver swords, weapons forged in the astral plane that can sever the psychic connection between mind flayer and colony. Yet the Illithids are not the only aberrations that inhabit the deepest reaches of the Underdark. The Aboleths predate even the mind flayers, claiming to be among the oldest sentient creatures in existence. These massive, eel-like beings with 3 eyes and tentacled bodies swim in the underground seas of the Lower Dark, dreaming of ancient glories and plotting their return to dominance. Aboleths lurked in primordial oceans long before there were gods, reaching out with their minds and seizing control of the burgeoning life forms of the mortal world. They built vast civilizations in the primordial oceans of the young world, mastering magic and science far beyond the comprehension of other races. When the gods came and destroyed their empire, the Aboleths retreated to the deepest waters of the Underdark and the ocean depths, where they have dwelt ever since. The Aboleths possess perfect memories, with each generation inheriting the knowledge and experiences of their ancestors. This means that every Aboleth alive today remembers the fall of their empire with crystal clarity, and they have never forgiven the gods for their defeat. These horrible aberrations lurk in the deepest, blackest waters of the Underdark, surrounded by legions of thralls. Gifted with extraordinary intelligence and powerful magical abilities, the Aboleths are the unquestioned masters of most Lower Dark lakes and seas. While some Aboleth cities are quite large, small outposts of a dozen or so, Aboleths are much more common. Aboleths lair in subterranean lakes or the rocky depths, often surrounded by the ruins of an ancient, fallen Aboleth city. The presence of these ancient aberrations in the deepest waters of the Underdark serves as a constant reminder that some horrors predate even the rise of the current civilizations, and that the Lower Dark holds secrets that may never be fully understood by surface dwellers, or even by the races of the Middle Dark. Section 4. Forges and Shadows. Not all who dwell in the Underdark are monsters or aberrations bent on domination and destruction. Among the tunnels and caverns, you will find civilizations that mirror surface societies more closely. Races that value craft and community, that build rather than simply conquer, but do not mistake this for softness or weakness. The Underdark shapes all who dwell within it, and even those races that surface dwellers might consider allies have been hardened by centuries of survival in the depths. The Duergar, or Grey Dwarves as surface folk call them, stand as a grim testament to what enslavement and bitterness can do to a once proud people. They are dwarves, certainly, sharing the stocky build, the love of craftsmanship, and the clan-based society of their surface cousins. But where shield dwarves laugh and sing in their mountain halls, the Duergar move in silence through their stone cities. Where gold dwarves take pride in their artistry, the Duergar view beauty as weakness and decoration as frivolity. The Grey Dwarves have been shaped by their history, and that history is one of pain, slavery, and hard-won freedom. In ancient times, the Duergar were simply dwarves, members of Clan Duergar, citizens of the great underground kingdom of Deep Shanatter. This dwarven realm sprawled across vast regions of the Underdark, 8 sub-kingdoms, united under dwarven rule. A civilization that rivaled anything on the surface. The dwarves of Deep Shanatter delved deep, mining precious metals and gems, crafting works of legendary quality, and believing themselves secure in their stone halls. But their delving brought them to the attention of the Illithids. The Mind Flayers invaded Deep Shanatter, their psychic powers overwhelming dwarven defenses that had been built to repel physical threats. Entire clans were enslaved, their minds dominated, their bodies put to work in service of the Illithid colonies. For generations, these dwarves toiled as thralls, mining ore and gems for their Illithid masters, their personalities suppressed, their free will stolen. The members of Clan Duergar suffered in darkness and without hope for approximately 4,000 years. But the dwarven spirit proved harder to break than the Mind Flayers anticipated. When the Gith Rebellion shattered the Illithid Empire, the enslaved dwarves saw their opportunity and seized it. They rose up against their masters, fighting with the fury of those who have been denied freedom for too long. They won their liberty, but the centuries of enslavement had changed them fundamentally. During millennia of slavery, the Duergar developed the cold anger that gave them the strength to rebel against their Illithid masters and eventually free themselves. The freed dwarves found that they had developed powers their surface cousins did not possess. They could grow to giant size at will, their bodies swelling to twice their normal height, granting them tremendous strength. They could turn invisible, fading from sight as easily as a surface dweller might close their eyes. These psionic abilities, which could imply they are gifts or perhaps scars left by generations of exposure to a lithid mental domination, set them apart from other dwarves. But the changes went deeper than mere magical abilities. The gray dwarves had been broken and remade by their enslavement, their culture twisted into something harder and crueler than what their ancestors had known. They had learned that trust was a luxury that led to chains, that mercy was a weakness that could be exploited, that only strength and vigilance ensured survival. When they looked at their shield dwarf cousins, who had not suffered as they had suffered, they felt not kinship, but resentment. The Duergar returned to the ruins of Deep Shanator and claimed them as their own, building their empire on the bones of the old dwarven kingdom. Around -1800 Dale Reckoning, in a series of conflicts called the Kin Clashes, the descendants of Clan Duergar invaded the realms of Ultixamrin and Halarerar in Deep Shanator. They drove out other claimants to these territories, showing no mercy to those who stood in their way. For her many successes in these conquests, the leader Deep Dura was rewarded with divine ascension by Lajugar. They established cities throughout the Underdark grim fortresses, carved from solid stone, where the sound of hammers never ceased. The city of Gracklestug stands as the greatest of Duergar settlements, a monument to their skill and their suffering. Located in a massive cavern heated by a nearby lava source and straddling a narrow rift known as Lajugar's Furrow, Gracklestug is a city of forges and foundries where the air shimmers with heat and the constant hammering of metal on metal creates a rhythmic thunder that never stops. The ceiling is perpetually covered with thick, reeking smoke that rises from the city's countless forges and smelters. And this persistent smog can cause a fatal cough known as Gracklelung. The city proper has a population of over 30,000 free Duergar, with the total population of the Deep Kingdom reaching around 90,000 Duergar, plus another 60,000 slaves. The architecture of Gracklestug reflects the Duergar philosophy of function over form. The buildings are blocky and severe, with colossal stalagmites that have been hollowed out and converted into great stinking smelters, where a shield dwarf city might feature elaborate carvings depicting clan history and legendary heroes. Gracklestug's walls are bare or marked only with functional information. The gray dwarves view artistic expression with suspicion, seeing it as a distraction from the serious business of survival and production. The city is divided into districts based on function. The Blade Bazaar serves as the commercial heart of Gracklestug, where Duergar merchants sell weapons, armor, and other goods forged in the city's foundries. The quality of Duergar metalwork is grudgingly acknowledged even by their enemies, for the gray dwarves have maintained the crafting traditions of their ancestors while adapting them to the harsh realities of Underdark life. The Dark Lake District provides access to the vast underground sea that serves as Gracklstug's connection to the wider Underdark, with docks where ships made of zirkwood and metal arrive carrying trade goods and slaves. But the true heart of Gracklstug lies in the Forge District, where hundreds of forges burn day and night. Here, Duergar smiths work in temperatures that would kill most surface dwellers, crafting weapons and armor of exceptional quality. The Grey Dwarves have made pacts with devils from the Nine Hells, trading souls for knowledge of advanced metallurgy and access to infernal iron. Duergar society is organized along clan lines, similar to other dwarven cultures, but with a harsh militaristic structure that permeates every aspect of life. Militia service is a requirement for all adult males, although many females also train. Every Duergar is expected to serve in the military, defending their city against the countless threats of the Underdark. Discipline is absolute, disobedience punished with brutal efficiency. The clan leaders, known as Thanes, rule their subjects with iron authority, brooking no dissent. Slavery forms a cornerstone of Duergar economy and society. Having once been slaves themselves, the Grey Dwarves show no sympathy for those they enslave. If anything, their own history of bondage has made them harsher masters, for they know exactly how to break a slave's spirit and extract maximum labor. Among the slave population of Gracklstug are goblins, shield dwarves, orcs, Snurfneblin, and humans, all toiling in the Duergar forges and mines, their lives worth less than the metal they produce. The Grey Dwarves maintain a complex relationship with other Underdark civilizations. They trade with the Drow, though neither side trusts the other, each transaction fraught with the expectation of betrayal. The Duergar usually prefer to carry their wares out to markets elsewhere, rather than welcome external traders. So caravans containing top-quality weapons, armor, and other metal goods constantly leave the city for Menzoberranzan, Mantaldarith, Skullport, and other Underdark settlements. They war constantly with the Deep Gnomes, viewing the Snurfneblin as weak and their territories as resources waiting to be claimed. They hunt mind flayers with particular fervor, their hatred of their former masters burning as hot as their forges. The neutral trade outpost of Mantaldarith provides one of the few places where Duergar, Drow, and Snurfneblin can meet without immediate violence, though murders and thefts remain common even in this supposedly safe zone. In stark contrast to the grim militarism of the Duergar, the Snurfneblin, or Deep Gnomes, maintain communities built on cooperation, cunning, and a quiet determination to survive in the depths. These small, gray-skinned gnomes lack the jovial nature of their surface cousins, the endless darkness having instilled in them a cautious wariness. But they have not lost their gnomish cleverness or their love of gemstones and mining. The Snurfneblin stand approximately 3 feet tall, with skin ranging from gray to brown, allowing them to blend seamlessly with stone when they remain still. Their eyes are large and adapted to the darkness, able to see in the dimmest light. The males are bald, while the females have stringy gray hair that they typically tie back to keep out of the way while working. Both genders dress in practical earth-toned clothing that further helps them blend with their surroundings. Deep gnome communities are typically small, rarely exceeding a few hundred individuals. They prefer to remain hidden, carving their homes into the stone in remote areas, far from the major thoroughfares of Underdark traffic. Secrecy is paramount to Snurfneblin's survival, for they lack the military might to stand against drow or duergar in open warfare. Instead, they rely on stealth, cunning, and an intimate knowledge of the stone around them. Blingden Stone, the largest known Snurfneblin settlement, was founded in -690 Dale Reckoning by clans fleeing the Faerûns beneath Netheril. The city grew to prominence in large part thanks to its vicinity to Menzoberranzan and Gracklestug, serving as a trading hub despite the dangers. For centuries, Blingden Stone remained hidden and isolated from the rest of the Underdark, thanks to a combination of misdirection and magic. The Snurfneblin used elaborate illusions, clever traps, and extensive tunnel networks to defend their city. However, Blingden Stone's decision to shelter a drow exile named Drist Darden eventually led to tragedy. 20 years after Drist's brief stay, a vengeful army from Menzoberranzan tracked his route during their invasion of Mithril Hall in the Year of Shadows. Realizing the danger, King Schnictic ordered the deep gnomes to abandon their homes and seek refuge in the darkness. After the drow army passed their city largely unharmed, the deep gnomes aided Mithril Hall in its defense. The resulting victory at the Battle of Keeper's Dale saved Mithril Hall, but marked Blingden Stone for future retaliation. 12 years later, in the Year of the Tankard, the matron mothers of Menzoberranzan launched a full-scale assault on Blingden Stone. The drow summoned Bibeliths and other demons from the abyss to aid in the siege. The deep gnomes' defenses were no match for the drow army. Thousands of Snurfneblin perished in the siege, and thousands more were enslaved by the vengeful drow. Those that escaped fled to Mithril Hall and Silveramoon, where they were welcomed. Years later, the Snurfneblin returned and began the slow process of reclaiming and rebuilding their home. The Snurfneblin are master miners and gem cutters, their skill with stone surpassing even that of dwarves in some respects. They possess advantage on stealth checks made to hide in rocky terrain. They possess an innate resistance to magic, having advantage on saving throws against magic. And the most skilled among them can cast spells of illusion and earth magic, including the ability to cast non-detection. Deep Gnome Society is organized around extended family groups, with councils of elders making decisions for the community. Unlike the hierarchical structures of Drow or Duergar society, Snurf-Neblin communities tend toward egalitarianism, with each member's contributions valued. Miners, gem cutters, warriors, and illusionists all play vital roles in ensuring the community's survival. The Snurf-Neblin worship deities from the gnomish pantheon, particularly Calar-Jurin's Smoothhands, the master of stone who guides their mining and protects them from the dangers of the deep. Calar-Jurin taught the Snurf-Neblin to summon and befriend earth elementals, and many deep gnome craftsmen work Calar-Jurin's star insignia into their jewelry and other handiwork. Their religious practices are quiet and private, conducted in hidden shrines carved into the living rock. They believe that drawing too much attention, even from the gods, invites danger. Beyond the major civilizations of Drow, Duergar, and Snurf-Neblin, countless other races make their homes in the Underdark, each filling specific ecological and social niches. The Kuo-Due, fish-like humanoids who were once enslaved by the Aboleths, have established independent communities throughout the Underdark's waterways. Driven mad by their exile and enslavement millennia ago, the Kuo-Due have developed the bizarre ability to create gods through collective belief. When enough Kuo-Due believe in a deity, the energy of their collective subconscious can cause that deity to manifest into actual existence, granted power by the worship of its believers. This has led to the creation of numerous minor deities, many of whom exist only as long as the Kuo-Due continue to believe in them. Kuo-Due society is organized around religious hierarchies, with priests and priestesses wielding both spiritual and temporal authority. They build their settlements near water, constructing odd structures from worked stone and organic materials. The Kuo-Due's madness makes them unpredictable neighbors, alternating between peaceful trading and sudden violent outbursts. Other Underdark races typically give Kuo-Due settlements a wide berth, unwilling to risk triggering the fishmen's wrath. Aboleths and Kraken are often worshipped by Kuo-Due and use their unwitting flock as minions for their own schemes. The Darrow represent another facet of Underdark horror, a race of insane dwarf-like beings who conduct bizarre experiments and raid surface communities to kidnap victims smaller than dwarves with pale skin and white hair. The Darrow suffer from a madness that seems to be inherent to their entire race. Every single Darrow is insane in some fashion. They are skilled in alchemy and crafting, but they use these skills to create poisons, traps, and devices of torture. The Darrow serve mysterious entities known as the Savants, powerful Darrow with psionic and magical abilities who guide their lesser brethren in incomprehensible schemes. The Savants treasure knowledge, and the rest of the race worships the Savants, following even the most suicidal order without the slightest hesitation. Troglodytes, primitive reptilian humanoids, inhabit the warmer regions of the Underdark, particularly areas near volcanic vents and lava flows. These creatures possess a natural chameleon-like ability to change their skin color, allowing them to blend with their surroundings. They also exude a nauseating stench when threatened, a defense mechanism that makes them particularly unpleasant opponents. Troglodyte society is tribal and violent, with constant warfare between clans and frequent raids on other races. The Grimlocks, blind humanoids who have adapted to life in absolute darkness, hunt through the Underdark tunnels using their enhanced senses of hearing and smell. Having lost their eyes to generations of evolution in lightless caverns, they have developed the ability to sense vibrations and thermal signatures. Grimlock society is primitive but organized, with tribes led by the strongest warriors and shamans who claim to speak with the stone itself. Each of these races, from the militaristic Duergar to the cautious Snurfneblin, from the mad Kuodue to the primitive troglodytes, has found its place in the complex ecosystem of the Underdark. They compete for resources, form temporary alliances, and wage wars that can last for generations. The Underdark is not a simple place of monsters and heroes, but a complex web of civilizations, each with its own history, culture, and goals. Section 5: Ancient Echoes. The civilizations you have encountered so far, the Drow with their spider-haunted cities, the Illithids with their elder brains, the Duergar forging weapons in their grim foundries. These are merely the current occupants of the Underdark, but the depths hold secrets far older than any living civilization. Ruins of empires that rose and fell before the current races even existed. When you walk through certain passages in the deep places, you can feel the weight of ages pressing down, the sense that you are treading on ground that has witnessed the birth and death of countless worlds. The stone remembers, even when all other records have crumbled to dust. You can see it in the worked passages that follow no known architectural style, tunnels carved with tools or magic that no current civilization possesses. You can feel it in chambers where the very air seems thick with ancient power, where reality grows thin and strange things seep through from other planes of existence. You can hear it in the whispers that echo through abandoned halls, sounds that might be wind moving through cracks in stone, or might be the dying breaths of civilizations long forgotten. The Aboleths claim to remember the world before the gods, and their perfect racial memory suggests this claim may be true. According to Aboleth history, they built vast civilizations in the primordial oceans when Toril was young and covered in water. These were not crude tribal societies, but sophisticated empires with magic and technology that would seem miraculous even to modern wizards. The Aboleths enslaved other creatures, conducted experiments that created new forms of life, and accumulated knowledge that spanned millions of years. But then came the gods, descending from the outer planes to reshape the world for their mortal followers. The deities raised continents from the ocean floor, drained seas, and fundamentally altered the planet's geography. The Aboleth cities, built for a water world, were destroyed or buried beneath newly risen land. The Aboleths themselves retreated to the deepest waters they could find, the underground seas of the Lower Dark, where they have dwelt ever since, nursing their hatred and plotting their return. Some of the ancient Aboleth cities still exist in the deepest parts of the Underdark, submerged beneath underground seas that have never seen sunlight. These ruins are places of tremendous danger, for the Aboleths guard them jealously, and the structures themselves often contain magic or technology that can drive surface dwellers mad. Explorers who have glimpsed these cities from a distance describe architecture that seems to shift and change when viewed. Buildings that exist in more dimensions than the human mind can comfortably process, and decorations that depict creatures and events from before the rise of elvenkind or dragonkind. The dwarven kingdom of Deep Shanatter, while not as ancient as the Aboleth cities, still predates most surface civilizations by thousands of years. At its height, Deep Shanatter spread across enormous regions of the Underdark 8 sub-kingdoms, united under dwarven rule. The dwarves carved vast halls from the living rock, established trade routes that connected distant parts of the Underdark, and accumulated wealth that would make modern kingdoms weep with envy. The ruins of Deep Shanatter still dot the Underdark, though most have been claimed by other civilizations or inhabited by dangerous creatures. The Duergar rebuilt some of these ancient halls, restoring them to functionality, if not to their former glory. Other sections lie abandoned, empty chambers where dwarven hammers once rang and dwarven voices once echoed. Occasionally, adventurers stumble upon sealed vaults from the Deep Shanatter era, treasure rooms or armories that have remained untouched for millennia, protected by dwarven engineering and magic. These vaults contain more than mere treasure, though the gold and gems they hold would certainly be valuable enough. They also preserve knowledge from an earlier age, scrolls and books written in old dwarven dialects, magical items crafted according to techniques now lost, and historical records that could reshape understanding of Underdark history. But accessing these vaults requires bypassing traps that have had thousands of years to become even more dangerous through magical decay and unpredictable malfunctions. The Faerûn itself, the magical radiation that suffuses much of the Underdark, may be a remnant of ancient catastrophes or deliberate magical working. Scholars debate its origin, some arguing it is simply a natural phenomenon resulting from the interaction of the weave with the deep stone. Others suggesting it was created deliberately by some ancient civilization as a tool or weapon. Whatever its origin, the Faerûn has shaped the Underdark in fundamental ways, providing energy for the fungal ecosystems, interfering with teleportation and divination magic, and occasionally manifesting strange effects that defy explanation. In areas of particularly strong Faerûn concentration, reality itself grows thin. Portals open to other planes without warning, depositing creatures and objects from distant realities into the Underdark. Time flows strangely, with hours passing in what feels like minutes or minutes stretching into subjective eternities. And occasionally, truly bizarre phenomena occur. Floating islands of stone drifting through enormous caverns, water flowing upward in defiance of gravity, or crystalline formations that sing in response to thoughts. The connection between the Underdark and the far realm, the dimension of madness and chaos that exists beyond the known planes, grows stronger in the deepest regions. The far realm is home to entities that make even the aboleths seem comprehensible. Beings of such alien nature that merely perceiving them can shatter a mortal mind. Occasionally, these entities send tendrils of their consciousness into the material world, seeking to corrupt and consume. The deepest parts of the Underdark, where the barriers between planes wear thin, are particularly vulnerable to such intrusions. Entire cavern systems in the lower dark have been corrupted by far realm energies, transformed into impossible geometries where the laws of physics no longer apply. Creatures that enter these areas may find themselves turned inside out, aged centuries in moments, or simply cease to exist as their molecules forget how to maintain cohesion. The few explorers who have witnessed these corrupted zones and maintained their sanity describe colors that do not exist in normal reality, sounds that bypass the ears to echo directly in the brain, and the overwhelming sensation that something vast and terrible is watching from just beyond the edge of perception. The Underdark contains numerous legendary locations, places whispered about in taverns and mentioned in ancient texts, but rarely visited by living beings. Skullport, the Port of Shadows, serves as one of the few well-documented legendary sites, located beneath Waterdeep and connected to the Underdark through extensive tunnel networks. Skullport is a haven for pirates, smugglers, and those who wish to avoid the attention of surface authorities. The city is ruled by mysterious entities known as the Skulls, ancient flame skulls that are remnants of the original Netherese mages who settled in the cavern. These 13 undead beings of tremendous power maintain order through fear and overwhelming force. Skullport was founded in the year of the Angry Sea, 1148 Dale Reckoning, when Shradden Mullafer obtained permission from Halaster Blackcloak to settle in the ruins of a Netherese enclave. Skullport's architecture reflects its chaotic nature. Buildings constructed from multiple styles and materials, cobbled together by generations of inhabitants. The city sprawls across multiple levels along the River Sargoth, from docks on underground waterways to residential areas carved into cavern walls. The permanent population includes humans, drow, duergar, mind flayers, and countless other races, all coexisting in an uneasy peace enforced by the Skulls. Trade flows through Skullport constantly, legitimate merchants mixing with slavers, smugglers, and fences for stolen goods. Mantaldarith, the neutral trading post established by mutual agreement between Drow, Duergar, and Snurfneblin merchants, represents a different kind of legendary location, located fairly close to the Dark Lake. Mantaldarith exists under a complex set of rules designed to allow commerce between races that would normally be at war. Violence within the trading post boundaries results in immediate retaliation from all three founding races, making it one of the few places in the Underdark where a merchant can conduct business with some expectation of safety. Mantaldarith has endured for centuries as a neutral outpost where Drow, Duergar, Snurfneblin, and surface dwellers can meet and trade without fearing for their lives. But legendary locations need not be populated to be significant. The Wormrithings, a vast network of tunnels carved by purple worms over countless centuries, wind through multiple layers of the Underdark. These passages are enormous, large enough to accommodate creatures of tremendous size, consisting of a series of interconnected, perfectly round tunnels left by the worms after they pass. The Wormrithings is not a horizontal plane, as worms can travel in any direction, creating slanting or even vertical tunnels. Because worms never travel through their own tunnels, choosing to dig new ones all the time, it is relatively safe to travel these passages, though encountering one of these colossal creatures in the confined space of even a large tunnel is nearly always fatal. The Dark Lake, or more properly, the many interconnected bodies of water that collectively bear that name, serves as both highway and hunting ground throughout the Underdark. This vast underground sea system connects distant regions, allowing those brave enough to navigate its waters to travel far more quickly than would be possible on foot. The lake is miles long and unmapped, with Duergar traveling 10 miles on the lake to reach Mantaldarith for trade. It is deep along most of its length, with stalactites and stalagmites breaking the surface in many areas. But the Dark Lake is home to countless predators, from aboleths in the deepest waters to Ku-Odue communities along the shores, to aquatic monsters that have never been properly cataloged. The deepest depths of the Lower Dark remain largely unexplored, a frontier that defeats even the most determined expeditions. At depths of 15 or 20 miles below the surface, the pressure becomes immense, the heat grows intense, and the creatures that dwell at these levels possess power that borders on the divine. Ancient dragons sometimes retreat to these depths to die, creating lairs filled with treasure and protected by the dragon's lingering magical essence. Elemental lords establish domains where the boundaries between the material plane and the elemental planes blur, and things stir in the darkness. Entities that predate all known history and care nothing for the wars and politics of the civilizations above. Some scholars theorize that the Underdark eventually connects to the Underdark of other worlds, that somewhere in the deepest depths, passages open into the subterranean realms of distant planets and entirely different realities. They point to creatures occasionally found in the lower dark that match no known species, to artifacts crafted from materials that do not exist on Toril, to ancient texts written in languages that resemble no known script. But these theories remain unproven, for no expedition has ever ventured deep enough to test them and returned to report their findings. The lure of the Underdark, despite all its dangers, continues to draw explorers, treasure seekers, and knowledge hunters. Surface kingdoms maintain a constant interest in what lies below, sending expeditions to map new territories, establish trade contacts, or eliminate threats before they can reach the surface world. Wizards seek lost magical knowledge preserved in ancient ruins. Merchants pursue profit in the dangerous but lucrative Underdark trade routes. And adventurers, driven by curiosity or desperation or simple wanderlust, descend into the darkness to test themselves against its challenges. But the Underdark gives up its secrets reluctantly and extracts a terrible price from those who seek them. For every expedition that returns with treasure or knowledge, dozens disappear into the depths, their fates unknown. For every map that gets drawn, 100 passages remain unexplored. For every question answered, 10 new mysteries present themselves. The Underdark endures, as it has endured for millions of years, a realm of darkness and danger, of ancient civilizations and terrible secrets. It existed before the current surface kingdoms were founded, and it will exist long after they have crumbled to dust. The Drow will continue their endless intrigues in spider-haunted cities. The mind flayers will scheme in their brine-filled chambers. The Duergar will hammer at their forges. The deep gnomes will mine their gems in hidden settlements, and in the deepest depths, things beyond comprehension will continue to dream their alien dreams. You have journeyed with me tonight into the depths of the Underdark, walked its passages, and witnessed its wonders and terrors. You have seen the great cities and encountered the civilizations that call the darkness home. You have learned of ancient empires and witnessed the scars they left upon the stone. You have glimpsed the mysteries that still wait in the deepest places, secrets that may never be fully revealed. The Underdark is not merely a dungeon to be conquered or a mine to be plundered. It is a world unto itself, complex and ancient, beautiful and terrible in equal measure, and it will continue to call to those brave or foolish enough to answer, promising knowledge and treasure to those who can survive its challenges. If you enjoyed this journey into the depths, if these tales of the Underdark and its secrets have captured your imagination, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support allows me to continue exploring the deep lore of Dungeons and Dragons, uncovering the stories that make this universe so rich and compelling. Thank you for listening, and may your own journeys, whether through the Underdark or across the surface world, be filled with wonder and discovery.